Hello everyone, Anna from Savvy Cat Realty here today to talk to you about cost of living in Portugal. And today I am going to have my Savvy representatives join me so we are able to discuss the differences between different areas in Portugal and how that affects the cost of living. We'll be talking about relocation in Portugal, and these are all part of my team. We have, as I said, Erika, that it's a content manager, and she is living in Lisbon, which everyone wants to know about because it's the most expensive city. And then we have Diana, and Diana is living in Caldas da Rainha, and she has 2 kids, so she will be able to give you a bit more perspective on what it's like to have a family in Portugal and the cost of living regarding all of that and schools and kids and all of those things. And then we have João that lives down in the Algarve where all the tourists are. And he will be able to give you a bit of perspective on that area and how the tourism affects or doesn't affect the regular cost of living. And then we have Nuno in Porto, the second biggest city of the country. And as you know, I have been all over. I've lived in every single one of the cities and some more. So I'm just here to oversee a bit on how and give my perspective as someone that has been moving around. So where do we start today?
We have a guest already. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry. Van der Broek.
Hello, Kel.
Hi. Welcome.
Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so I think the obvious first thing that everyone wants to know about is rent prices. So how different do we all think that the rent prices are in the different cities? We can, if you are comfortable with that, just give a bit perspective on your own experience with renting in the cities you are in. So maybe let's start with Erika.
Yeah, let's take.
You're on the spot today.
Yeah. No. Let's take the heavy ones first, because Lisbon is a renting hell in a local perspective. Because if you want to live in the center of Lisbon, depending on the areas, you need to screen a lot before you can find a good deal. In prices, you cannot find a studio apartment for less than 500. How do you say in English? 500. Thank you. 500 euros, and it can go up to even more, to 600,
700, 800.
Yeah,
people are very creative.
Not the studio ones. 2-bedroom apartment can go to 700 and a half. So yeah, it's getting a little bit unbearable for a person that lives alone like me. It's really difficult. You either have to share a house, an apartment, and that usually is around a bedroom. It's around 400 euros. Only for students you can find a little bit cheaper, but it's still difficult to find those unicorns, as we say. Yeah. And depending on the most popular areas, it can go even a lot higher. These are the most basic prices that you can find, but the prices are skyrocketing a lot, and they are pre-screening, or they are predicting that the prices even going to get up to 5% more in the next year. So I don't know. It's a prediction they say here.
Yeah, I don't know if it's okay for me to give a bit more insight into your current situation. So
Yes, of
Erica has a bit of a longer rental, so she still has a decent, but very almost it's impossible to find that price in Lisbon right now.
No, impossible.
And she lives in a very, very small apartment. I don't know, like 40, even less, maybe square
Less.
meters.
Less than 40 square meters.
In a third floor with very, very narrow stairs.
A really old house, and a couple couldn't live here. Like they could, but you don't have privacy at all.
And you have to go around the bed like this because you don't fit.
Because I wanted the luxury to have
a double bed.
a double bed. I cannot walk in my bedroom, basically, is that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see that it's obviously not very comfortable. And if she was to leave the apartment next month, probably the owner would be able to rent it for like 200 euros or 150 euros more than what she currently pays.
No, that's what she's taxing the other apartments. So yeah, definitely. She would remodel it, everything, make some maintenance here and there, and then up the prices to the amount you just said. So
yes. But on the other hand, the place where she's living is very, very central. So that is also why the price is that way. But Lisbon, as we were saying, is where the prices are currently higher. Because it's the capital, and it's the only place where you will be able to find like 1,500 euros rent very easily. Like it's easier to find things over 1,500 than under 1,500, and that's not the case anywhere else in the country. It's rising in Porto, but it's still not in any way comparable to Lisbon.
Yeah.
So, for a bit of perspective, I don't know, we can all talk a bit more about renting situations. I haven't rented in a very long time because I'm privileged enough to own the places. But when I did rent, it was back in the Algarve, and it was a 1-bedroom apartment for 500 euros. It did include bills, but yes, it was something like 5 years ago. Or 6 years ago, so it's been a while. And João has been living in the Algarve. How many years have you been there?
4 or 5 years, more or less.
Really? I thought it was longer. Okay, maybe I'm overestimating.
Longer, but living permanently all year long, 4 to 5 years. But been staying in other locations of the Algarve for several months, but not the entire year, like I am right now.
Yes, and João is living in Albufeira, and he also has the rental for a while. It was through private contact, so it was basically friends knowing friends.
Yes,
and
I have a unicorn, yeah. At the moment, it's practically impossible to get. I live in 1-bedroom apartment. And what I pay of rent, you wouldn't find even now a studio or for that price. So the normal for speaking of Albufeira or the main cities in the Algarve, the normal for 1-bedroom apartment, it's at least 500, 600 euros. But you can also find things for 700 and 800. You will see all sort kind of things here in the Algarve. It's not as crazy as Lisbon, as Erica just said, but it will be difficult, for example, to find a 2-bedroom apartment below 800 to 900 euros. So a couple with a child that will need a spare bedroom for the kid, below 800, you will find it, but it's not in the best condition. So it will be very old houses, and not with the conditions that people want for their own houses to live in. But at the moment, this is the reality. There are some cities here in the Algarve where house renting it's lower. Those that are not so tourist related, you can find it cheaper houses for rent. But most of the cities, this is the current reality.
Yes, and I think in the more touristy locations, the pricing is fairly similar to Porto. It's not as inflated as Lisbon, but it's fairly high, especially from a local perspective.
Yes, I agree.
And another thing that happens a lot is, as we all know, people in their 20s and so on have a very, very hard time getting out of their parents' house. So it's very common here that people stay in their parents' house until their 30s and so on. And it's often not by choice. So it's due to all of this. Most of the cases, it's very hard for people in our age range to just find an apartment and live alone. Most of the people only are able to leave their parents' house when they get a partner. So that can be very difficult here. So, Nuno, can you tell us a bit more about the situation in Porto regarding rentals?
Hi everyone. Yeah, about Porto, at this moment you can start looking for no room apartments or studios, or even small one-bedroom apartments starting for 450 euros a month. It will appear something in this with not so good conditions. Most recent apartments of this size will start in 550 euros up, depending in which part of the city we are talking about. Porto is not that big city, but prices in terms of regarding renting or rental market differ a lot inside of the city. But for example, you can start looking in a walking distance of 10 minutes of the historical center of town for 650 euros for a two-room apartment, starting from that value, for example. As far as you go from the city, prices start dropping a little bit. And yeah.
I think that's one of the advantages in Porto is the suburbs are not yet very inflated. In Lisbon, you do get prices lowering a bit when you get to the suburbs, but it's not a very noticeable difference because the center is so inflated. In Porto, if you go a bit more outside of the main city, you are able to find much more affordable options, and that's a lot of the locals do.
I can give my example on that. For example, I live in Rio Tinto. I'm at 15 minutes drive from Porto, and my apartment has 120 something square meters. And in a house like this in this area is rented starting from 600 euros, 550, 600 euros. You would already find something for this size in this area. You could never find one like this in the center of town, of course.
And then we're going to the first family situation that, as we all know, it's very hard because you need more space and more space is expensive. So usually what happens is that couples get together and try to save enough to get a house because rental market is very, very hard. So Diana can tell us a bit more about all of this situation and how she herself is getting around it.
Currently in Caldas da Rainha, I think that there is like a very high demand, especially for families that are looking to come and live here, because we have really nice schools, we have a central hospital, all kinds of facilities, very well located, and really good access to the motorways and all of that. So and one university, and that we find that brings a lot of people coming to live here. So I think that the prices are going a bit up comparing to these past years. And I would say that 1-2-bedroom apartment in Caldas, of course, it depends on the location, but if it's located, especially in the center city, you would find the prices going from 600 to 800 euros for a two-bedroom apartment, which is the most common to find. Of course, you can always find like one bedroom and studios for less, around 400, 500 euros. It depends on the area, of course. As far as you go from the center of the city, the prices go down. But everyone tends to look to be more in the center. That's why we have a big demand here.